Mindfulness. Popular and real notion of yoga. That is the topic we will take up. What is the popular notion and what is the real notion of yoga? Because once you see that the human race is always looking for knowledge. Trump did this thing, for example, and you did not hear it. What happened? What Trump did? The mind is always curious of knowledge. It is totally different whether it is right or wrong, low or high, but we are always curious of the knowledge. Do you see that? Our human mind. Second, human mind is always looking for permanent happiness. What is permanent happiness? Are you calm and relaxed? Yes, at this time, yes. So, unbroken continuity of that peace and calm expresses the mind as the state of happiness. Unbroken, continuous. You see that? We are moving to the real notion. In between, we'll move from the popular to the real notion. So now to this real notion, Eastern wisdom says, every master says, Anandam vai Brahma. That Ananda, permanent happiness, is my real self. Do you believe your eyes to see me? Do you question anything to believe your eyes to see me? No, you don't question. Similarly, we in the beginning, we don't question the principle. We believe it, but it is not blind belief. Remember, whatever master says, belief pending inquiry. You see that now when we opened our session online, you saw me, I saw you, and we started. We don't question the eyes. Yes, I see you, you see me. Similarly, Master says first you believe does not mean blind belief. Anandam vai Brahma. Permanent state of the happiness is the nature of our real self. Are we getting a knowledge? Do we get curious? No. You have repeated 1,000,000 times. It doesn't go into my head. Then live in suffering. Then live in suffering. What can I say? Now see another popular notion and the real notion. That word Ananda is translated as bliss. What do you get by the knowledge bliss? Either the mind is running too low. Oh, I have understood. Bliss is a sensual pleasure. You are caught up in a wrong notion. No, no, I have understood. I have understood. Now see what is Ananda, the real notion. Nanda means joy and happiness. And A means from all sides. Means the mind, wherever the mind goes, there you find that joy and happiness in life. Any suffering, da, means the joy from all sides. How many sides we have outside? Front and the back, above and the below, right and the left. These are the 6 directions we have outside. What is the 7th direction? We never want to move our mind into the 7th direction. That is why we are suffering. And that 7th direction is moving inside. The permanent happiness lies there. Can you tell me any object, any person, any event that gives you permanent happiness? You celebrate your birthday, you prepare it, you want to prepare, you get little happiness, you arrange everything, you wait for your guest, little more happiness, and then you celebrate, everyone says, happy birthday to you. Come on, you have decreased 1 year in your life. What kind of a happiness you are celebrating? And after celebration is over, you wake up in the morning with hangover. What kind of a happiness it is? Happiness must continue. There must be an unbroken continuity of that happiness all the time, 24/7. Why I started this topic? Because that is the goal of yoga. When you use the word goal, when you use the word yoga, so real notion of yoga, according to the teachers and the great masters of Eastern wisdom, they say goal is end of suffering and awakening to permanent happiness in your life. And knows me for more than 10 years. You have to play your role outside. Continue to play your role. Even if you have to fight, fight it. But it should not enter inside your head, inside your heart. Real notion. Real notion. And what is popular notion of yoga? I did 55 minutes of physical practices. I can stand on my feet. No, I can stand on my head. We all stand on our feet. So what do you feel? You are excited. You can stand on your head. But neither Anne nor me can stand on my head. Sophie can stand. She is young. We are we are also young, but we don't want to stand on our head. Not interested. You see that what happens? Nowhere in yoga that says if you stand on your head, it will give you pleasure. Nobody, the real yoga never says if you hold the breath, that gives you the unbroken happiness. Why should I do it? Polar bears are doing it in the snow. They bury themselves down into the snow. They maybe let them hold the breath. It is required there. Why should I hold the breath and make my mind and the brain and the heart crazy? That is a popular notion of yoga, not a real notion of yoga. You see that I build my muscles through the practices of yoga. Popular notion. Real notion. What is the real notion? Our master says yoga samadhi. What is yoga? He says yoga samadhi. Samadhi means highest state of meditation. Who is the teacher of the Eastern wisdom? Be very clear. Who is a teacher of physics? Who explains the principles already existing and discovered by many scientists. Einstein, Archimedes, Newton. Clear? He should be known as a teacher of physics. But now that teacher enters into the class and he says, forget about those Einstein, Archimedes, Newton. I will teach you totally a new physics. And then he starts teaching on his own, from his own whims and fancies. Can that be person known as a teacher of physics? No. So the same way the teacher of yoga or the teacher of the Eastern wisdom must teach from the text, the teachings and the principles. What we do? Close your eyes, focus on the breath. Are you mindful? Yes, mindfulness practice is done. Popular notion. It will not work. It will work, it will give you a little bit of relaxation, calmness, but again, that calmness and relaxation will lose its charm after a few sessions of the practice. And then you are into anxiety of doing meditation. You ask the question, how long I have to practice? You don't ask how long I have to breathe, how long I have to eat, how long I have to be, I have to evacuate. You don't ask these questions. Are you asking a right question or is it a stupid question? How long I have to practice? How long I have to practice? You went the driver teacher comes and he has taught you how to drive for an hour, and then you say, now how long you have to teach? Very clear. Until you have a skill set of driving, you know the rules of the road. Similarly, we have to practice meditation until we succeed in meditation. What is that success in meditation? Anandamavai Brahma. Now you discovered permanent happiness within you. That happiness is being expressed outside in thought, in speech, in action, in personal, in professional, in social life. You are there. So when you ask how long I have to practice, doesn't stand anywhere. We are understanding the popular and the real notion of yoga. From where the real notion of yoga comes, not from the teacher. When the teacher teaches based on the principles of yoga and the meditation passed on to us, passed on to the teacher by for the last 6,000 years. What is passed on? That wisdom. When we study Patanjali, first sutra is Ath Yog Anushashanam. Ath means I am a seeker now. Patanjali says, the master says, are you a seeker? The moment you say yes, the master Patanjali says, Yoga Anushashanam. Yoga is a discipline and education of the mind. I added, of the mind. How? Why? So the commentator of this master book explains what is yoga. Yoga is the highest state of meditation. That is why yoga is a discipline and education of the mind. Now see, the second sutra qualifies the definition, understanding of the first sutra. What is the second sutra? The second sutra says yoga is emptiness of the mind. You do 100 postures every day. Can your mind become empty? Ask yourself. Popular notion. That is the popular notion. The real notion, I have to look at the mind, how my mind becomes crazy. And then I say, stop there. Mind, you have been working on me. Now I will work on you. Enough is enough. When you say enough is enough, then you become aware of the mind. So, what is enough is enough? Somebody says you are crazy and you feel insulted. That is not enough is enough. It means you are carried away by the mind. Mind says, you see that? I have given interpretation of the word crazy. Now your mind has started working in you. One, and the mind has started working on you. Do you see this guy whom you say is such a good friend and he said you crazy? The mind is giving an interpretation. He has been such a long time friend. Let me break that relationship. Who is saying? The mind. Mind is working on it. Look at this. So, what the master is saying, please work on the mind in the first sutra. What is yoga? Discipline and education of the mind that leads to the emptiness of the mind. And from that emptiness, the third sutra, what the third sutra says? That once you empty the mind, then what happens? The knowledge of the reality is revealed within you. Calm down the turmoil and the waves in the water in a full moon light. Full moon night. The moon reflects as it is into that water of an ocean. Similarly, our true nature is reflected in the mind. But why it should reflect? Until now, it was the mind was reflecting. What it was reflecting? Craziness, reaction, blame, complaint. How can you live in permanent peace and happiness when the mind is constantly reflecting these things? So masters are saying very simple thing. Calm down the mind, discipline it, educate it, go deep inside, watch, feel, start working on the mind, see their mind reaches to the state of emptiness, just be there, wait patiently and see what happens. So what is going to happen? The water is not forcing the moon to reflect in the water. It is natural. Same way, when the mind is empty, once we discipline and educate the mind, now mind is like the calm water of an ocean. So what is inside? That moon inside is our real nature. That reflects in the mind, and I experience immense pleasure. The mind is absorbed into that state of the joy and the happiness within. That is the state of meditation and mindfulness. So, as you know, you learn driving by a driver teacher. Driver teacher says, go ahead, go to the motor vehicle commission, write, sit in the examination, pass the examination. You have passed. You have passed the practical examination. You have a driving license. Now you have a driving license for the life. To live and express that happiness, peace, and the joy in life. Whether you have all the luxuries or the comforts, you express peace through it and happiness through. You don't have it. You are still fine because happiness is within. In that state of the happiness, you work hard to achieve. In both ways, you are happy. What you have, what you don't have, do not cause any stress in the suffering. Then someone says you are crazy. You say that I'm more crazy than you think. The people at your home wants you to react, and your mind says, now I have gone beyond that reaction. They try all the means, but you are working on the mind. You know how to work on the mind. You continue to express peace and the happiness, and the time comes. The others, when they feel your presence, they dare not to say anything. You have become an epitome of peace and happiness. This is the journey of real yoga. This is the journey of real yoga. This is the real notion of yoga. So, one more, the fourth sutra of the Patanjali says those who live in non meditative state, what happens to them? The mind rules their life. How the mind rules their life? Even if they hear the word crazy, not addressed to you, their mind is agitated and excited. Unnecessary. Because mind carries those impressions. We have not disciplined and educated. Then we say, you see, I don't know how anger came into my life. Now they go for anger management. How can you manage your anger? You can manage only those things of which you become conscious. So plan to be angry tomorrow at 10 a.m. It will not happen. Fall into anxiety tomorrow at 11 a.m. Put it into the agenda. You will never become anxious. It means what is unconscious, you cannot practice that. Now, how can you manage your anger? Come on, how can you manage your anxiety? Popular notion, it is going on. So you are caught up with the popular notion, and then you say, I become angry. I have been managing anger for the last 50 years. I have yet to succeed. Ha ha. That is a wrong notion of yoga. Understand that. We have to transcend that anger. How can you calm down the water in an ocean by throwing a stone into it? What you do, you leave it. You leave everything. Let it settle down. That is how you transcend the mind. Understand it. We will talk little deeper in our next session. Let us start our practice. You can like